Welcome to Future Insight. My name is Mohammed Rafe and I'm a software engineer from Pakistan. I have been working in this industry for a while, like a year or so. I have coded and developed multiple applications, and I have met a lot of people in my time. But there are a couple of things that have always, you can say, bugged me, and people are not aware of this feature yet that I have used on daily basis and I love it. And that is Git. Git and GitHub is an amazing service. Git was developed by Linus Torvalds and GitHub is owned by Microsoft. So very simple. We will learn from the basics to the advanced all the concept of learning Git and GitHub. It is a version control of your software. So whenever you add a new feature, remove a feature, it keep track of every single thing. So let's get to the desktop and we will learn everything to manage a Git. Before we get started, I will first of all of the resources and all of the contents and all of the videos, all of the commands are available on my blog website. So you can visit my blog website by future-insight.blog, and on this website you can go to the post sections, and I have already written a couple of blogs on my website for you guys to read, and if you want to read. So today we are working on Git. So this is the blog. You can also visit future-insight.blog/learn-git and GitHub. This is the extremely well written guide that helped me, and in near future will help you to learn and master Git. But I will be using this as a reference because it has helped me like quite a lot. So before we get started, first of all we need to understand what is Git and what is GitHub. So like I said, Git is a version control for your system that allows you to contribute into new projects or existing projects. You already know when you are creating a software, there are a lot of dependencies, a lot of folders that get into different versions, and every time if you do not use Git, it will go something like this: version 1 to version 2, version 3 final. I used to do this when I was in university, but not anymore. And keeping track of all of the code, it's not easy. So we will learn Git. So what is GitHub? So GitHub is a hosting platform for, and it is learn Git. So what is GitHub? So GitHub is a hosting platform for, and it is owned by Microsoft. It will help you create and store all of your code. So in order to use GitHub, you need to create an account. But before we need to create an account, there are some couple important terms that you should know. First of all is repository, branches, commit, pull request, and push requests. All of these terms are pretty easy and not that much difficult. So what is a repository? First of all, a repository is, you can consider a repository as a folder that will contain all of your dependencies, all of your files, all of your documentations, and how and where you will place on it. All of this repository is online so that anybody could access this. It could be public or it could be private. So you can consider a repository as a home folder as well, where you will store everything GitHub on your local machine. And what is a branch then? A branch is the exact duplicate of a repository on another. For example, you consider the tree branch. A tree core is the main repository, and the branches exceeding from that, those are the branches. So every branch can be different, every branch can be same, and depending upon how you will configure your branches, we will get a little more detail about them later in the video. So what is commits? Whenever you made some changes to a repository, you submit that code, and though that submission of the code is known as a Git. So the question arises, what is a pull request or push request? A pull request is when you push your code and it is approved by the owner of the repository, then it's merged into the repository. That's known as the pull. So a push is fetching the latest code on your machine from the local host repository. All of you can see in this on my blog website. Everything is written in detailed, what is what, where is what. So next step is how do you install Git. So it's pretty simple. If you're using Linux, if you're using Mac OS, then you can use your command line. If you're running Ubuntu or Debian, then simple apt install Git. If you're running Arch Linux, then pacman -s Git. If you're running Windows, so there are two options to install Windows for Windows. First of all, you can use the command line known as wingit. If you want the normal exe, then I provided this link which will redirect you to Git download file, which you can download the latest version for Windows, Mac, or even for Linux as well. On Mac OS, you can install Homebrew. You can install Git using Homebrew, and if you do not have Homebrew, Homebrew is an amazing tool. It's a command line literally package manager for Mac OS, and you can install it using. So first of all, we will visit GitHub, github.com, and I'm already signed in. But if you do not have an account, I have given specific instruction how to create an account on GitHub. So first of all, we will create a repository. This is my profile. You can use your. First of all, we create a repository. You will click this green button to create a new repository, and we will name this repository shopping AI. Here you can provide the description. Here you want to describe if is the repository going to be public. Public means that everybody will be able to see the code and all of the or this repository is going to be private. And you can see I already have a repository called shopping AI, so I will change this name to shopping. Next is this Git. I will be adding a readme file. So readme file is basically the instructions that tell different users, different developers how to run this project on their local machine, or how it is run, or how it is contributed. Anything related to the code is written in a readme file. So there is that, and there below that option there is the git ignore. So git ignore is a simple file that tells Git not to upload specific kind of files. You see, when you're working on when you're developing website, dynamic website, for example, you're working on React, there are a lot of node modules. There is yarn file, npm packages that does not require to be uploaded on GitHub. So using that .git ignore, you can stop uploading them to their GitHub. And the most important one is the choosing the license. Now this is important. If you do not choose any license, that definitely means that it is not an open source project. It's a closed source, and if you use this project, you have to get paid or something. If you're providing some kind of license, then there are a bunch of options. For example, Apache 2.0, general use license, MIT. Each of these licenses provide a specific terms and conditions. You can read them by selecting them and open them, and you can read everything. So for this, I will using MIT. For most of the projects, I use MIT. It's a pretty good license and agreement. And with that, I will be creating my repository. So this is the main repository. It has already have one commit. You see, this commit was made by GitHub to add these two files. So every repository has a single branch that is known as main branch. For you, it could be masters. There are typically some people prefer master branch. I prefer main branch. So you can use this as you can keep track of all of the branches over here, and with tags as well. So we will clone this repository first on our local machine. So as you can see, you can use my blog as well. I have already till this point we have covered. So now we will clone this repository. So to clone it, you can use this. You can click this green button, HTTPS. You can use your SSH. SSH is pretty easy to set up. I will go through that later in the video. For video now, I will use SSH. But if you're using HTTPS, then you might need, when you're uploading code, you need to log in and verify that it is who is uploading the code. But for me, I will be using my SSH. So I will copy this and I will open a terminal. So let's just go to my download section. By the way, this process is same as for Windows, for Mac, and for Linux. I'm using Linux as my environment, but it really doesn't matter. So I will just this is the first command. You can use git clone git clone. Git is the main function, and clone is telling the clone the repository from that cloud to my local machine, and I will paste the URL and I will enter, and now it will clone the repository in my download folder because I have redirected to download folder. And now you can access this shopping. Now cd into shopping. Now I am in the main. Look, I have a starship prompt that will indicate that I am repository. I also added this small emoji that identifies that it is a GitHub repository. So now, first of all, in order to make any changes, I highly recommend everything you do in branches. So like I said, a branches is like a tree branches that will be different and same depending upon the nature of the project. So each branch can represent each new function that will be merged into the main repository. So first of all, I'm going to create a branch. So to create a branch, you can use this command, git checkout. You can for creating new branch, you use a parameter -b and then the name of the branch. So most for my projects I use with main development branch. So I will be development branch, and my branch is already created. Now this branch is local on my hardware, on my laptop. It has not been deployed yet. So be careful. If you delete this folder, within your code is gone, your application is gone, all of your work, bye bye. So now I will create a simple file like hello world or python, and as you can see, I'm using a specific starship prompt that indicate that I did one more file, and it is a Python file. So now let's just view this contact, and here's my Python file. So new vim, and I will open this Python file. So Python file, I will just write hello world in Python, print hello world, and with that I will be right and quit. Now we'll run this code. And you can see hello world. So it is written. Now you have considered that you have done all of your work in this branch. Now you want to push this code into the main repository online. You want to save it. How would you do that? So there are three major steps that you need to do. First, you need to add all of the changes file. Second, you need to commit it. You need to give a message. What are those changes? And third, you will need to push that code to the main repository. So let's just add first, git add, and let me just zoom in, git add, and if you're using star as a parameter, it will add all of those files that have been changes. And now my file, as you can see, my save file has been added. So you want to know what are those changes, for example. So you can do that by this command, git status. Git status will tell you a new file has been added, hello world.python file. For example, if it was not added, it would be red, or it was removed, it will be also red. So now I want to commit this message. So git commit. Now -m is the parameter for passing the message. So what is the message? So for me, adding new Python file and code. So now, as you can see, it has developed that one file has been changed and one line of code has been added. So now we need to push this code, push the repository branch and this branch to the main repository. So before we can push, let's just push. What will say? Oh, it says an error that this branch is localized, a branch is not remotely, and it has given us the command as well. So you will need to copy this, or you can write your own. So I will be writing on git push dash upstream origin, and then your branch name, which is for my case the developer branch, and I will send enter. Now this command will deploy your local branch onto the GitHub server and push your existing code to that specific branch at the same time. So now my code is uploaded. Now let's just see, and voila, on this repository you can see I need to create a pull request in order to merge. So now by clicking this button you will open up this page. So here you will see that it is comparing the main branch and the deployment branch. You can see the comparison by clicking here. That development branch is be comparing in the shop API will be added to the main branch, and here you will write all of those changes. As a developer you need to write those changes. You need to tell other developers what you have changed, what are the consequences if this code has been changed, if it's a test, it's a fail, all of that you need to tell them. Nobody knows what code you have written. You do not want to restructure your code or refactor your code. So for me, I will simple hashtag change. I'm using a markdown language. If you don't know markdown, it's a pretty simple format. So changes, I will be add a Python file, and you can preview them in this format. So now you can press this button to create a pull request. Whenever you click this button, now it's gonna open a pull request, and now you can see the changes. Now from this point there are two ways you can do this. Either you can use the website that I have been using to merge the request, or you can use the command line. First we will go through this web interface, and then we will go through the command line interface. So in order to merge this development branch code into the main branch code, you need to click this button, merge and pull request. Once you have, it will ask for confirmation, and then you will confirm merge, and now it will merged. As you can see here, merged successfully. If there are any errors, if there are any conflicts, you need to resolve them first. A conflict is defined as in a way that here is somebody changed the code from here and somebody changed the code from here, and both of their code are on a same page, and they are contradicting with each other. Neither this code is running or neither this code is doing, and they are creating a conflict. Conflicts are, and if you're working on a solo project, they are very unlikely to occur. But if you're working on a large environment, then yeah, conflicts are a pretty tough thing to handle. So now we will go to the main branch, and you will see our Python file over here, which you can view all the code over by clicking this file. So as you can see, this is how you will commit this, how you will clone a repo, commit the code, and you can see all of my commit has been tracked. Now one more thing, on this main branch you can see the development branch as well. All of these changes are made to a specific kind of branch. This branch is derived from this branch. Whatever you do in this branch, you can save this to this branch as well, or you can make those changes into the main branch as well. I'll give you a live working project example as well at the end of the video. So there's one. So let me just give it to you right now. So let's just go to one of my projects, and here is my blog website. So everything is open source. As you can see, I have 8 branches. So as you can see, this is my main branch, my main production branch, where everything is deployed and you guys can see everything that I have done. This is my blog branch. Every blog that I wrote, I need to test it. I need to verify it that it is working or not. So I commit everything to that branch. And these new version 8 or version 2, those are the previous iteration that I have done to the main branch as a backup. So in case I have destroyed everything, my main production, but I might have set a copy branch so that I can restore everything till that point. And as you can see, there is a development branch as well. Development branch are basically, I developed everything into the development branch, and once they are verified, they are tested, and then they get push into the main branch. And those other branches are the testing deployed branches, which will get into the near future. So now, how do we commit using the command line? For the most of the time you want to use the web, it is much more easier. You don't want to get into the command line if it is necessary, but still if you want to learn, it's pretty easy. So let's go to the same branch and let's just make another commit. So I will just create another file in Node. I'll just use a Python file as well. So let's just say rafe test.py. Now it is directed to one more file. So I will just use NeoVim as my editor and I will open this file and let's just add anything. Hello world. Print testing a new feature, and I will save this and write it, and I will save it. And now let's just push this code to the GitHub. So let's just git. Okay, you can check the status. You can see the red line. This file has not been added yet. So git add. You can specify the name or you can use the star symbol as well, which is way easier. Now let's just commit, but before we commit we want to check if this has been added, and voila, it is green now. So let's just commit our message, add a new Python file. I'm using the same old commit, you can change it. Now let's just git and push. Now this branch has already been deployed and already available on GitHub, so I don't need to set upstream origin. I don't need to deploy it again. I can just use git push and voila, it will push all of the code to that specific. Okay, sometimes it might not appear, so no need to panic. You can go to the specific development branch and in the URL you can see the tree/development. It will specify that you can go into the specific branch if you want, and you will see you are one commit behind and one commit ahead. That means you have made some changes to this branch. So you can click this button and this will and here you will see all of the changes that I have made. You can create a pull request and compare. So I'm doing this. You don't need to do this. I'm here to just to view all of the command line. Like merge and request, you can see this, or you can view this in command line instruction. We will open this and here you will see all of those instructions. So I will be just opening this as well over here, and I will be copying and pasting these commands. GitHub provides you with all the necessary things that you need. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is you need to pull the origin branch. That means all of the changes that were done previously to the main branch need to be updated, and it has been updated. First you need to switch to the main branch, and you can do that by you can switch between different branches using git checkout and now get name of the branch. Once you are into the main branch, you need to get the latest changes. So you can use git pull to get the latest changes from the main branch, and then you can copy this and paste, and now it will work. Everything is up to date. Now let's just switch. I'm already to the main branch. I'm not going to do that, but if you want to, you can. Now you want to merge into the development branch. Okay, I did something wrong. Okay, it worked. Git merge into the development branch. It has seen that I have created a new file test branch, and now you want to merge those two branches together, and now it will merge, and it's going through and it is merged. Now main branch. So let's just see voila, rafe test.py. So this is pretty easy, and I will refresh over here and you will see that it's already been merged. Simple. No fancy, it's pretty easy. So why do you need Git? That's the main question. So if you're on Linux or you're on Windows, you can create you do a lot of stuff again and again and again, You might get bored, and every time your system breaks or you need to update something, Git and GitHub is a pretty easy way that you can store all of your files, repeating files, your .config files, your VS Code, your NeoVim files, all of your code into existing on GitHub, and not worry about them. They will never be lost. Even if your hard drive is erased, even your computer is destroyed, you still have all of your backup files on GitHub. So that is one of the most important reasons. You can follow along this blog post that at the time I wrote this blog, I was using Windows. As you can see, I'm using PowerShell. So you can use all of these commands on Windows, Linux, Mac, no matter what is the operating system you're using. So as you can see, committing, pushing, pulling, final request, branching, all of those good things are over here. So one more important key thing that I would like to discuss is that release tab and GitHub actions. So what is a release page? Over here you can find the release page. So whenever you have deployed a new or worked upon a new feature, so you wanted to tell people that these are the changes and this is the new version of my application. So that's where releases comes in. Releases can be tagged with a specific branch telling people that, or telling developers that I have launched a new feature. You can check this out. You can check this out and tell me how does it. Let me give you a live demo example. Again, this is my blog website. You can see I have released 2 versions of my website, and you can see actually 3 is version 2.1. The current running latest version is version 2.1. I'm currently working on version 3. It is not ready for production yet. So you can see that this version 2.1 is defined what the introduction, what are the changes, what I have done, and if you want to see all of those changes, you can see all of these changes over here. Like I rebranded my blog website. You can see I did that a month ago, and before that you can see all of my contribution, all of my history. So it's a pretty good way to keep track of everything that you are doing. One more thing is that you can see I already have a pull request that I'm currently working on. You can, every time you want to make a pull request and you do not want to merge the pull request into the main repository, like over here, you can use a feature known as draft request that will hold the push request from another branch and stopping it to going into the main branch. Since I have made only one commit, I have written all of the changes, and this is how things are done. The next thing is pretty important, and that is GitHub Actions. So GitHub Actions is a pretty cool thing that has been developed by Microsoft and GitHub, that you don't know how many errors will appear, how many bugs, how many security flaws are there in your application. You're a developer, not a tester, and you need to find a way to test them. So that's where GitHub Actions are come. It's a continuously integration model through which you push a code to a GitHub repositories. It will scan your code, it will test your code, it will check for any dependencies, install them, config them, test them, and then it will merge them into the GitHub main repository, which is the main. In my case, it's the main branch. If any of these checkpoints that you have placed are not passed, it will not merge. It will stop. It will display a red code, or it will indicate that it has failed. Let me give you one more live example. So, like I said, I have a couple of GitHub actions on my blog website. You can see I have total 4 workflows. You can set up your own workflow by clicking a new workflow. You can create your own workflow using YAML. It's a pretty amazing language and you should learn it. Or you can use community drive GitHub actions. So there's a lot, like setting up an account for your Python project. You can use GitHub. You can use Node.js application to deploy your applications on GitHub. You can use different containers. You can use Hugo. You can use anything you think of. There is code analyzing. there is code scanning, there is the installation of dependencies, everything, checking for manual workflow. There is a lot of things that you can do. So for my use case, I have created 4 GitHub actions, and each of them what do is that they read the code from the main repository or a specific branch. They build it, they build the code built by existing code in a branch, and they place that output of whatever is the output into another branch. So, and there is one more for code scanning. So this is whenever you set a GitHub action, they will be going into your .github folder, and in those folders you can see a folder GitHub workflows. So there are my 3 or 4 workflows that I have created. So on this shopping website, I will be creating, it's a Python project, so I will be publishing my Python package. Let's just configure that. So now as you can see, it is loading all of these essentials, and it is creating a new file. And it's a YAML file. So whenever I will commit these changes, I will just directly commit, and it will, once you can see it has been added into shopping.github/workflows, and you can see my GitHub action. So now it is in progress. So whenever you commit, you will see the GitHub action will be rolled first, and if it failed, it will not merge. You can still merge, but it would not recommend you to do that. So that GitHub action is completely way to describe in this blog post as well. So that's pretty much it for Git and GitHub. It's a pretty fascinating, amazing project. So I would recommend you to do your commits, develop projects, have some fun. You can also read a lot of code on GitHub. Like I read 6 to 7 projects like every day, and you can contribute to different projects as well. So one more thing, that whenever you commit something, GitHub keeps tracks of it. So this is my commit history over the year 2023. You can see 2022, 2021. 2021 was the year where I began to contribute to open source software, and that was the very first time that I created my first application, and that was the beginning. And till this now, I've been working on my GitHub profile. It is an amazing way to represent your work in the community as well. So start building your GitHub profile, and I will see you next time.